guys, so as my first video on this channel, I wanted to do a ranking of all 40 Barbie movies because I'm probably the biggest Barbie fan. So before we start, I just want to say I won't be including the newest Barbie movie, Barbie Epic Road Trip, because it's 36 minutes long and it's a Netflix interactive, so I refuse to acknowledge it as a movie. And I won't be including the two Barbie movies from the 80s, so I'll be ranking all Barbie movies from Nutcracker to Mermaid Power, and my rankings will be based on my opinion, so it's completely subjective.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Chelsea, you're missing everything.
I'm working on my routine.
You don't have to practice every minute.
Coming in dead last has to be Barbie and her sisters in a puppy chase. This was one of the movies that I have not seen until watching it for this video, because I've given up hope for a lot of the newer Barbie movies, so this movie is just straight up bad and boring and such a tough sit through. Did we really need another Barbie movie with better puppies? A common thing you'll hear me say through the rest of this video is that I don't like the Barbie and her sisters movies because I just feel as though they work better as like episodes rather than a movie, which is why Barbie Life in the Dream House works for me. If I want to watch Barbie and her sisters, I'd much rather watch Life in the Dream House. But anyways, getting in the movie, it just lacks any plot substance. Barbie and her sisters go on an island, they lose their puppies, and then halfway through the movie they find the puppies, and the movie's no longer about the puppies, and it's about getting to Chelsea's dance competition, and the stakes are extremely low, and like, I don't need an epic journey. I love simple movies, but this just doesn't work for me. Like I said, I feel like this could be condensed into a 40-minute TV special. So yeah, I feel like nothing really happens in this movie, and we're not going to even get into the design for that poodle. Oh my god.
No. Chelsea's birthday's the 10th, but my phone says today's the 11th. Huh?
But that's impossible. When we went to bed, it was the day before my birthday. How could it be the day after? What happened to my birthday?
We have Chelsea and the Lost Birthday. I hate this movie with a passion. I don't care for Chelsea, and this movie just has a lot of Chelsea. So basically Barbie's family is on a cruise, but they cross time zones, so Chelsea's birthday kind of like skips, if that makes sense. So she's sad about it, and there's like this whole pirate treasure thing, and I just don't want to talk about this movie because it makes me angry. I hate Barbie and her sisters. I hate this movie. It's boring. I was waiting for it to be over, and I don't recommend this movie to anyone unless you're like 6 years old. So enough about this nonsense, on to the next.
You know, your grandfather said the best part of an adventure was sharing it with the people you love.
I've been so busy with my list. I haven't spent much time at all with my sisters.
At number 37, we have Barbie Puppy Adventure. There's going to be a pattern of the newer Barbie movies being low on the list, but I already shared the reasoning for that. This one's from 2015, so it's not super new, but this era is where Barbie kind of lost me, and in 2015 I was obviously going out of my Barbie phase as I was starting middle school near this time. Anyway, this movie is about Barbie and her sisters kind of going on a little treasure hunt, and this plot was more intriguing than the puppy chase, which is why it's ranked higher overall. It's just not a great movie, but it wasn't absolutely dreadful, which is good, I guess. I don't have much to say, to be honest. I just don't care for this movie. Had nothing special to offer. The message about friendship and family was alright, but I'm just not fond of the adventures with Barbie and her sisters. I am so sorry. So next we got Barbie Mermaid Power, which is their most recent movie other than the road trip. So in this movie we got Barbie and her friend Brooklyn that she met in another Barbie movie that we'll talk about later, and of course her sisters in this mermaid adventure where they have to save the sea or some shit. It's basically a sequel to Barbie Dolphin Magic. Yeah, so this movie pretty much sucked, which is a bummer because I was kind of looking forward to it because I love a good mermaid movie, but this was not a good mermaid movie. The only reason this movie isn't last is because it had some stakes at least. I liked how they gave us more background of where Isla came from, because in the first movie She was kind of a mystery, and we had no idea where she came from. Most of the movie was just mermaid school drama, and there was no major conflict until the end. Also, Marlo the villain is back, and she gets an arc this time around, which is cool, I guess. The music, by the way, sucks. I hate the new poppy sounding songs. And also, where are the gemstone dolphins? Like, did they just forget about them for this movie? Doesn't make sense. But it's honestly sad that this is where we've come to in the Barbie universe. I don't mean to be negative, but I'm just not liking this new direction that these Barbie movies are going in. I love the old Barbie movies like anyone else, but I still try to have an open mind when watching the newer ones. But there's just an obvious disimprovement in quality of these movies compared to the earlier ones, and it's disappointing. I don't like this new animation style. I like when Barbie looked like a Barbie doll. But yeah, anyway, on to the next movie.
Sorry about this, Your Highness. It is Your Highness, right?
You can call me Amelia, Barbie.
Amelia, cool. Wait, you know me?
Next we have Barbie Princess Adventure, and I gotta say, how many times are they gonna do this Princess and the Pauper switcheroo trope? This movie sucks, but not in a boring way. It's just a bad movie, but it entertained me enough, so I can't put it last. In this movie, Barbie and her friends go to this royal country, and Barbie meets a princess who looks exactly like her, so they switch places because the princess wants a week to be free before she becomes queen. She has no freedom to make her own choices. The songs are pretty bad. When Barbie started breaking out a song on the plane, I just lost it. The plot is fine, but we've seen it done before and better. None of the characters were that interesting. There was one character, I think his name was Trey, and he was just weird and wanted to be king or whatever, and I don't know, I thought that whole subplot, or not even subplot, I just thought that it was so dumb, and his song was so random, but it was funny. Anyways, the message was nice, although it could have been executed better. The villain, Johan, was an okay villain. Of course he wants to be king, but yeah, nothing really blew me away in this movie. Overall, it was pretty bad, but not horrible.
Huh.
So cool.
So next, we got Barbie Spy Squad. Surprise, another newer movie, but yeah, the movie is about Barbie and her friends who are gymnasts who are recruited as undercover agents to track down a jewel and a robber. So, this movie has a plot, which is the bare minimum, but it's not the best plot. It was obvious that the robber girl, was Patricia from gymnastics, but it's a kids movie, so I won't nitpick too much. So it's just a spy mission, basically, so I didn't have a horrible time watching this movie, but I didn't have a great time either. Your villain is just a typical, forgettable, I don't remember his name, and I felt like I was watching, a watered down version of, a Totally Spies episode. Yeah, ever since 2012, I felt like Barbie was slowly going downhill, but I think at this point, 2016 is where it started to go extremely downhill. While this movie wasn't impressive by any means, it was mildly entertaining, and the spy premise was sort of fun. I liked how they incorporated their gymnastic skills, and I don't really have any more positive things to say, so let's move on.
Boom, boom, spoke too soon, now I'm cocooned in my own disappointment. Gotta spread my wings and get to higher ground.
So at number 34, we have Big City, Big Dreams. Barbie goes to New York to attend some music school, and she meets a girl who's also named Barbie, and they instantly become best friends. And I mean instantly. They literally sing a song about how did they ever survive before meeting each other? Literally 5 minutes after they met. But yeah, it seems a little, anyways, so this movie wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be. I actually didn't hate this movie, surprisingly. It was just a typical best friend misunderstanding plot, and then they break up and then they come back together in the end. Then you got this Hannah Montana bitch whose dad is the villain, I suppose. This movie was entertaining. I don't know why, I just found it stupid, but in a good way. The pop modern songs actually fit in with the modern day New York setting, and me and my friends ironically listen to Good Vibes because it's just a funny but low-key good song, and the other songs like Playground of Our Dreams and Work It are surprisingly catchy and not horrible to listen to. Yeah, it sounds like I like this movie, but it's really nothing amazing. The plot is stupid, the characters are stupid, and I don't know why, but I still like it, but not enough to be ranked higher.
Coming in hot!
It's working! But it's not enough!
So at number 33, we have Barbie Video Game Hero. This movie is about Barbie getting sucked into a video game, and she has to defeat this virus from taking over the game. I don't like this movie, but I give it a lot of credit for being ambitious and really trying something new. This movie is very unique and switches the animation style throughout the movie to match each game Barbie visits. The world building is interesting and the visuals are cool. However, I just have problems with the plot itself. It's just not a strong story and doesn't feel cohesive enough. I really did like the idea. I just wish they made the plot more interesting because I just wasn't fully invested. That's all I have to say.
Christmas magic! Deck the halls with boughs of holly.
So next we got Barbie Perfect Christmas. This is the first Barbie movie with Barbie and her sisters, and I believe this came out in 2011. So Barbie and her sisters go on a trip to visit their aunt for Christmas, but things keep getting in the way and Christmas does not go as planned, but they learned that it was a perfect Christmas nonetheless because they got to spend it with each other. So there's definitely better Barbie Christmas movies. I think like many Barbie and her sister movies, the plot is just not there for me. It was not bad though. It's a cute, simple movie about family, which I think can appeal to many people, but I just love compelling, intricate storylines, and this felt lackluster in that department. I don't want to dislike this movie because I think it has heart and it's sweet to see your family spending time with each other, but not for an hour and 15 minutes.
Denise, and the swoop.
Swoop, swoop, bend. Hey!
Next we have Barbie and her sisters in a ponytail. This is our second Barbie and her sisters movie. So here there was definitely a slight improvement from Perfect Christmas, at least plot-wise. We got a little something going on. Basically, Barbie discovers a majestic rare horse, and the villain Philippe catches on to this and wants to find the breed of these rare horses, so he just tries to sabotage them. This movie was very mediocre. I think the plot wasn't bad, but I wish they had a better villain at least. It's another simple, low-stakes story, which I don't have a problem with. Like I said, I love simple movies, but there needs to be a solid plot at least. I like how in the end, Barbie chooses not to keep the pony and she lets it stay with her family, which is sweet. But yeah, overall, I don't see myself rewatching this one a ton compared to some of the others down this list, but it's not a bad movie by any means. However, I wouldn't consider it great either.
Oh, hey, Barbie.
I'm glad you're here.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
The movie is so Barbie Diaries. Oh my god, this is a movie. This is the first old Barbie movie to be low on the list, but there's definitely good reason for that. This movie is a hot mess. It's good in a bad way. It's so fun and entertaining to watch this 2000s high school drama, but at the same time I can't ignore the horrendous animation. I get it's 2006, but at this time they released movies such as 12 Dancing Princesses and Mermaidia, so this one felt flat compared to those. Also, the plot is just the most unoriginal thing ever. It's literally Mean Girls. Barbie is Lindsay Lohan, I swear to God. I'm not kidding. Go watch it. But yeah, it's a PG-13 Mean Girls. The songs were okay. The diary didn't have much to do with the movie. And what saved the movie was probably just the charm of it. Like, this movie just has a lot of personality. It's always a fun watch, and of course nostalgia plays a role on why I didn't rank this movie lower.
I think he likes you, Daffy.
So at number 29 we have Barbie's Dolphin Magic. So finally the last Barbie movie with like her family. This movie is about Barbie and her sisters going on vacation, and they meet a mermaid, and they learn that these gemstone dolphins are in danger because this evil biologist that I mentioned earlier wants to capture these special dolphins for her own gain. This movie was honestly fine. I appreciate the environmental message, and the stakes felt high because these dolphins in the mermaid's lives were at risk. It's a simple, fun little vacation movie, and I love when Candy gets screen time because he is so fun to watch. If I had to complain, I would say maybe flesh out the characters like Isla the mermaid and the villain Marlo more, because I feel like some backstories for both would have been nice. The plot wasn't amazing, but it's good for what it is. I don't have too many complaints with this movie. I would say it's this low because there are just so many good Barbie movies, but this was definitely the best one out of the Barbie and her sisters kind of series.
Can you use your powers to take us down closer to the center of the planet?
We sure can.
At number 28, we have Barbie's Starlight Adventure. So in this movie, Barbie goes on an intergalactic mission to save the stars from going out, and she lives on this different planet. And honestly, this didn't feel like a Barbie movie. The animation was so different. The world was literally a different world. The characters were pretty cool though. The king was really weird, but in an entertaining way. Now, what really stood out for me was the visuals. Like, this movie was stunning. The outer space shots are gorgeous, and I love the aesthetic. Barbie's design looks so different, and it did throw me off, but for this movie it worked somehow. But yeah, this movie kind of makes me sad. I don't know why, but the plot's decent. The stakes are extremely high because the stars are going to burn out. That's pretty scary. It's just a fun little adventure, and the only reason it's this low is just on a personal level. I didn't enjoy it as much as the others, and it didn't really resonate with me, but it's a pretty decent film, I guess. One thing I will say is that her name is Barbie in the movie, which threw me off because it's not canon. Like, Barbie doesn't live on this extraterrestrial planet, and she has this like different dad, and I just wish they gave her a fictional name, so it's like Barbie's playing this role. So that kind of hurt my head, but it's not a big deal. At number 27, we have Barbie in a Secret Door. This is the first movie so far where Barbie is actually playing a role. And so this movie follows Princess Alexa, and she discovers a secret door to this magical realm with fairies and mermaids, and she has to save this land from this little girl. So this movie was kind of a mess, but it kept me entertained. I really like the idea of this world of mermaids and fairies coexisting. However, I feel like they could have done this better. The movie has this bright color palette, and it's very harsh on the eye. I wish they toned it down a little bit. The songs are very, pop and vibrant, and it's just too much for me. I really didn't like the songs. The villain is a little girl, which is fine, but I can't take her as a serious threat at all. The villain, her name's Malusha, and her parents come home at the end and they get mad at her, which I thought was funny. But yeah, Barbie has many fantasy movies, and this is just not one of the best ones. But I can't say I hate this movie. It was a fun watch, just didn't like the vibe and wished the story was stronger because I wasn't really that intrigued. But we do get a Kelly Sheridan as Barbie, which automatically gives it points because she's an icon.
Ugh! Get away from me, you little... Karen, don't!
At number 26, we have Barbie Princess Power. So this is Barbie playing Kara, a princess, and it was kind of like Spider-Man inspired because this butterfly kisses her and she gets superpowers, and she has to save her kingdom because the villain Baron is like the royal advisor who wants to take over. This movie is pretty underwhelming overall. I thought this was going to be some epic action movie, but it's Barbie, so what did I expect? The villain in this movie wasn't that bad, to be honest, but he doesn't really stand out either. He's just your typical guy who wants to take over the kingdom, and at this point we've seen this trope a million times. Yeah, this movie was fine. I just personally don't love it. There's gonna be a lot of movies near this middle area where it's like I don't hate them, but I don't love them. I like the style for this movie, like the comic book vibes were cool, but overall it's just not really a good movie.
Aren't you just the cutest little...
Barbie as Thumbelina. It's sad to see one of the classics this low on the list, but Thumbelina is just not my favorite. Basically, Thumbelina is about these fairy things called Twillerbees, and they need to save their habitat because it's getting bulldozed over for, like, I don't know, condos or something. So they try to convince McKenna, the daughter of the construction company guy, I think, to convince like them to stop this project. While I really liked the environmental message, I think the execution of the story was kind of weak. I'm not invested in this plot. I watched this movie and I'm honestly bored. Like, I feel like this had a lot of potential and they chose to play it safe. McKenna's character arc was nice, but none of the other characters really stood out to me. It feels weird that Thumbelina is played by Barbie because the design is so awful. It does not even look like a Barbie model. Like, this face design for the Twillerbees, honestly, it gives me nightmares, and I had to take points off for that. It's just not appealing to the eye whatsoever. It's still a decent movie though, but compared to movies that came out around this time, like Three Musketeers and Diamond Castle, Thumbelina definitely is not up to par.
Wings!
Your wings!
Which is the sequel to Barbie Mariposa. So Mariposa is a butterfly fairy, and she goes to this crystal fairy world to make peace with the crystal fairies because they have like a feud or something. And of course there's an evil plot against the kingdom and all that. I like this movie. It came out in 2013, but it has that traditional Barbie fantasy vibe that I was really missing at this point in the Barbie timeline, so that was good. I like the message about acceptance and all that, and it was a pretty Barbie movie. I like the whole crystal concept, and I was glad they opened this world more and showed us new species of fairies. Now for the flaws, I don't like the villain Gwillian. I feel like her backstory and motivations aren't really convincing, and I don't like the animal sidekicks of both the protagonist and the villain. I like Mariposa's friendship with Princess Catania, but yeah, the story is what brought it down for me. I feel like it could have been better.
Are you Erica?
No, but...
If you would be so kind as to wait your turn.
I'm here! Sorry, I'm late! Whoa!
So at number 23, we have Barbie Rockin' Royals. So again, with the unoriginal ideas, this movie is basically Camp Rock meets Pitch Perfect, and it kind of has the switcheroo plot going on. So Princess Courtney accidentally gets sent to Camp Pop, and pop star Erica Juno accidentally gets sent to Camp Royalty, and it's kind of like a fish out of water thing where they learn new things, and at the end there's like a final jam. I don't know what it's called, but I'm gonna go with final jam because Camp Rock. And there's like a subplot between the two owners of each camp. They have this like rivalry, and it's revealed they have like history and all that, and honestly it was pretty fun. The songs were honestly not my favorite, but they were tolerable. I just wished we had a stronger story, which I'm basically saying this about all the movies so far, but don't worry, we're almost at the good ones. I don't love this movie, but it was a fun watch, and I don't have any major complaints.
Forced to by...
Oh no!
It's Zilla!
So at number 22, we have Barbie as a Pearl Princess. This movie was probably the newest one this high on the list. Actually, no, there might be one more. But anyway, this movie is basically Rapunzel but underwater. So this mermaid Lumina is raised by this like old hag, but she's actually a lost princess. So there's of course a plot of this guy trying to kill the king and queen to rule the kingdom. But I was really surprised with this movie. I went in expecting a modern day nonsense tale, because they already kind of were in that direction where they strayed away from classic fairy tales, but this movie was genuinely a lot of fun, and I really like the fantasy vibe that reminded me of like classic Barbie. I didn't like the songs in this movie, like Mermaid Party was awful. Yeah, and the plot was definitely not perfect, but I like how Aunt Celia, which was the woman who kidnapped Lumina, wasn't totally evil, and she had an arc and a backstory. Oh yeah, Lumina had these like cool pearl powers, and I wish they were like a more important role in the story. I haven't talked about the male love interest in any of these movies yet, only because there really aren't any in these new ones, because they started making Barbie more independent. But as we get to the classics, I'll talk more about the romances. But yeah, overall this movie is pretty good, but I wouldn't call it amazing.
Make breakfast for myself, leave the work for someone else. People say.
So at 21 we have Barbie, Princess, and the Pop Star, and this might be pretty high on the list for a lot of you guys, because this movie gets a lot of hate because it's a modern remake of Princess and the Pauper, but instead of Pauper, it's a pop star. So Tori, the princess, and pop star Kira switch places because they wish they had each other's lives. Basically aren't happy in their own lives. And then Kira's manager is evil and wants to steal these diamond things from the royal garden, so I get why this movie gets hate, which is why it's relatively low on the list. It's just nothing compared to the original source. Princess and the Pauper is just better in every way, and this movie is not that good. The songs are pretty bad and unoriginal. There's like 2 songs in there that are like actual songs. The only good thing about this movie is Here I Am by Kira. This song is amazing, and it's the only reason I rank this movie a little bit higher up. But the To Be a Princess remake was just insulting. Yeah, this movie was also pretty entertaining, so it gets points for that, but the plot is just really not good. Like, this guy tries to break into the garden and steal the diamonds. Like, what does that have to do with our protagonist? I wish they had a better story. If you're gonna make a remake to one of the best Barbie movies of all time, you need to at least make it somewhat amazing, but this was just far from that. But it was a fun watch, so I wasn't bored to death, you know? So coming in our top 20, we got Barbie in a fashion fairy tale. Barbie goes to Paris to see her aunt, and there's a fashion show, and there's this evil girl, Jacqueline, who's a fashion designer trying to sabotage them or something. This movie came out in 2010, and this marks a distinct time in the Barbie timeline, because this is where they start to go in a different direction with their movies. Kelly Sheridan is no longer playing Barbie, and we start to get a more modern day stories instead of classic fairy tales. Barbie is herself, and she isn't playing any character. This movie was alright. It's pretty nostalgic, and I remember loving the song Get Your Sparkle On, but it's just a simple story which works for me. The plot revolves around this fashion show that they're building up to, and it's just a fun time watching them get ready. I like the subplot with Ken trying to make it to Paris in time, because as I mentioned earlier, it's always fun time seeing Ken on screen. This movie isn't epic, there's no high stakes or adventure, which is okay, honestly. Sometimes just a fun, simple plot can work too. The reason it's not higher up is because I wasn't really in love with any of the characters, and the plot isn't as interesting as some of the other movies coming up. But I do miss the old Barbie movies, and this movie was the start of a new era, which I can't say I'm too fond of.
Look how he's gazing into her eyes. He's totally falling for her. I mean, me. We've got to stop those two.
Next up on the list, we got Barbie Pink Shoes, which is about Kristen, a dancer who enters this magical world of ballet, and it kind of reminds me of Wizard of Oz, because everyone in her regular life appears in this magical world, but as different characters. So I thought that was fun. I love the message of this movie, that you don't always have to follow the instructions, and you can be creative and do your own thing, because I feel like Barbie never really had a message like this before, and I love the magical ballet worlds because it reminded me of the classical Barbie fantasy, especially with the tribute to Swan Lake. Loved that. I liked the 2 boy characters. I forgot their names, but their banter was so entertaining, and I loved every moment they were on screen. They genuinely made me laugh. Not a fan of Kristen's friend Haley. She kind of was annoying, but it's fine. The Snow Queen villain was alright. She didn't really do much. I mean, she froze people, but other than that, her motives were unclear. Like, she wanted everyone to do the ballet, how it's supposed to be done, and it kind of felt like, I don't know, forced. But yeah, that's some flaws about this movie. I just felt like something was missing in the plot. Like, I think maybe they should have added a third ballet, because they did Giselle, Swan Lake, and then I don't really think they did Snow Queen. You could say the climax was Snow Queen, but like, the climax was just anticlimactic. Like, she dances and then everything's okay, and it kind of felt underwhelming and convenient. But other than that, it's a solid movie that doesn't fail to entertain me.
I wish to become a mermaid!
At number 18, we got Barbie and a Mermaid Tale 2. So starting now, we're gonna be getting into the great Barbie movies that I love, so I will be talking more in depth about these movies because I'm so passionate about them. So Mermaid Tale 2 is a sequel to Mermaid Tale. It's kind of hard to talk about this movie without talking about the first one, but I'll try. So Merlia has this new rival surfer named Kylie. They both go on this ocean adventure because Eris is back and she's captured these 3 royal mermaids, and it's their job to work together to stop her. I love the first act of this movie, and I think that's why it's high on this list. I'm just more invested in the surfer plot than the mermaid plot. I love the tension between Merlia and Kylie, and I like how their friendship grows throughout the movie as well. I think near the middle, this movie seems to fall apart. There's nothing new and interesting being done, and in this movie, I feel like everything wraps up so quickly, and the climax is not very good. There's also a fish that makes me very uncomfortable. I think his name is Alistar or something. Yeah, something fell missing in this movie, and I wish they fleshed out the story better. I was interested in the 3 mermaids that Eris captured. They seemed cool, but we didn't get much from them. Eris is the same old Eris, and she wants to be queen, and it's just very mediocre. I still love this movie. It's entertaining, and I love a good mermaid movie, which is why this is at number 18.